Greetings, everyone. I am Pete Pardo from Sea of Tranquility. Welcome to another episode of Ranking the Albums. Today, we're going to take a look at the shortish, not that short, catalog of a band that I loved a lot in the 80s. Then they kind of fell off my radar for a number of years, and they got back together. Then they kind of fell under the radar. And then the main guy, Fast Eddie Clark, guitar player formerly of Motorhead, passed away in 2018. That kind of put to bed the story of Fastway. Right. So some of you also might be asking, Pete, why is your shirt backwards? Because two of the albums that we're going to talk about today, I don't actually have physical copies of, so I do want to show you the cover art. So the Prezi app that's used within Zoom reverses my image to show you the image. Kind of ridiculous, I know, but so just bear with me for a few minutes while you see me backwards here. But a little bit of history of Fastway. So of course we all know that Fast Eddie Clark, one of the members of the classic era of Motorhead. Of course, he left the band after the Iron Fist album, decided to put together a new band. He was talking to none other than Pete Way, Fast Way, Fast Eddie, Pete Way, Fast Way, bass player from UFO, who had kind of left UFO at that point in time. They were looking to do a band. They found none other than Jerry Shirley, of course, formerly of Humble Pie, great drummer, decided to put a band together. They got signed to Columbia Records. And then all of a sudden, Pete Way finds out he's got some kind of contractual issues that might hinder his joining the band. And then Ozzy Osbourne says, "Hey, Pete, you want to come join up with me and go out on tour?" And Pete was like, "See you later, Fast Eddie Clark and guys." So all of a sudden, the Way and Fast Way no longer there anymore, but they decide to soldier on. And they basically, the trio, along with Dave King on vocals, Irish vocalist who was basically an unknown at the time, tremendous singer. So basically, you had the trio of Fast Eddie Clark, Mr. King, and Mr. Shirley. That's Fastway on the first album. They released 7 albums over the course of their career. I'm going to rank them as I like them, right? In the order that I like them. Start from number 7, going to number 1. So let's take a look at this catalog, shall we? So we're going to start at number 7. And my number 7 is going to be this album called On Target. How about that horrible album cover? That's an indication of what you're going to expect in here, right? So this is 1988. This is their fifth album, self-produced by the band, released on GWR Records or Enigma Records, depending on where you were at. So this is after the breakup of, I guess you could say, the second version of Fastway. So basically, Eddie's all on his own here. Dave King has moved on. He's got to find a new singer. He wants to put the band back together. So he finds this guy named Leah Hart. That's him right there. And basically, the rest of the album is fleshed out by using all sorts of studio musicians, and like kind of like a who's who. You got Don Aries on here, Neil Murray's on here, Nibs Carter, Terry Thomas, Gary Ferguson playing, drums, keyboards, guitars, and things like bass and things like that. So, if you know a little bit about the history of Fastway, initially they were a bluesy hard rock slash metal band, right? Throwback to some of the cool sounds of the 70s, but it had an 80s flavor to it, but pretty heavy, big riffing, that swagger from Dave King's vocals, right? But then things kind of went astray after that second album. So here on this fifth album, now all of a sudden we've got AOR, melodic rock, glam and hair metal all kind of colliding in this sound. Basically, whatever you heard on the first 2 albums, you don't have anything like that here. So it's very, very much in that glam slash hair slash AOR sound. Guitars kind of have a sleazy edge to them at times. There's lots of synths, lots of big choruses. Starts off with Dead or Alive and Change Your Heart. They're both kind of memorable, right? But they're not bad. It reminds me of kind of like this band trying to do their version of like the LA scene that was happening at the time, or kind of maybe also kind of on the outs at the time, right? But from a few years prior. Okay. Then comes a song called A Fine Line, which is absolutely dreadful AOR. It's not good. It's not memorable. It's just too many synths, no good. Two Hearts is also very unmemorable. Again, drenched in synthesizers, and not very good. There's a song called You, which again, reliant on those synths and really bad sounding drums. really bad sounding drums. Let Him Rock. It's kind of cheesy, sort of fun. She is Danger to me sounds like second rate Rat. And that's one of my main issues with this version of the band. I don't really like Leah Hart's vocals. I think he sounds like a pale imitation of Stephen Pearcy. Not that Stephen's the greatest singer ever, but it sounds like he's trying to go for that style and he just fails miserably. Don't really like it. Show Some Emotion. It's a kind of like a piano ballad. It's not good at all. I don't like him as a singer. Again, These Dreams, Close Your Eyes, just they're not good songs, first of all. Um, and this album does not like sound like Fastway at all. It's a pretty terrible album overall. Don't like the vocals, don't like the production. Songs aren't overly good. There's a couple that are decent, but it just sounds to me like a band, like Eddie put back together a version of the band, wanting to keep up with all like the LA glam slash hair metal bands, and it just doesn't succeed at all. It's not good at all. So I would say avoid this one at all costs. If you think that cover is terrible, I think it was the Enigma issue of the album has the two of them and like a couple other guys who weren't even on the album that joined for the live stuff or whatever. And it's total like hair mellow looking thing. It's absolutely ridiculous. And I will say, if you heard this album blind and you listened to it, and then someone told you, "Oh, guess who plays guitar on that? Fast Eddie Clark," you'd be like, "Really?" There's like no resemblance to anything that Fast Eddie Clark has ever done on this album. It's not good. Avoid it at all costs. All right, number six, I'm going to go with something that's almost as bad, Bad Bad Girls. So this is the next album. This is their sixth album, released in 1990. Legacy Records, self-produced by the two guys. Again, Leah Hart back on vocals, got the title track, starts things off. I will say this album on the whole is a little more riffy than the previous album, a little more guitars up front. It's produced a little better. It's not really saying all that much. Um, to me, even more so, this album comes across like generic Rat wannabe. I think Mr. Hart is even more so looking to sound like Stephen Pearcy. The overall production and the way the songs are structured, just trying so hard to get that LA glam metal thing. And it's just not very good. Not very good. Body rock, kind of catchy, a lot of synths. It's okay. But to me, I just can't get over the fact that Fast Eddie Clark is playing this type of music. It just doesn't make sense to me. Like I said, you wouldn't even know he's on here if someone didn't tell you. Miles Away, that's kind of catchy. That's kind of like melodic rock, hair metal. I don't like the vocals. She Won't Rock, decent enough rocker, terrible singing on it. No Repair, Death of Me, again, okay songs, killed by bad vocals and an overabundance of cheesy synthesizers. Cut Loose, Lucky to Lose, at least have pretty good guitar playing. Again, it doesn't really sound like Fast Eddie Clark, but it's pretty good. But I'm not down with the vocals. To me, I think the vocals are worse on this album than the previous album because he's trying too hard to be something and I don't really know what it is. Um, this bad imitation Stephen Pearcy style vocals just kind of take me right out of it. Again, I don't mind Stephen Pearcy at all. I'm a Rat fan, but just on here, he just does not sound good. You have some of these songs that are fairly decent, and he's just overdoing what he's doing, and it just takes me right out of it. Overall, there's some fun stuff on this album, but I just don't think this guy is a good singer by any stretch. Maybe when he tries to sing the way he normally sings, it might sound good, but he's trying to be something that he's not on here, which I don't like at all. Plus the fact that by 1990, this sort of thing is really kind of dying out already. And like I said, there's nothing that remotely sounds like Fast Eddie Clark guitar playing on this. None. None at all. So with that, I don't need the Prezi app anymore because I have all the other CDs to show you here. So let's get rid of this here. Close the Prezi app so you can see me. No, there's this. See, that does say Budgie. See that? All right, so that was my number seven and six. Let's go to number five. And that is going to be their their third album, which is called Waiting for the Roar. And this BGO release. There's the slipcase. So Waiting for the Roar, third album released in 1986, produced by Terry Manning. at Abbey Road Studios for Columbia Records. So here we got a little bit of change in the band, right? So after the second album, band kind of splinters apart. We've got Dave King and Fast Eddie are still on board here, but basically now they've added Paul Reed on bass, Alan Connor on drums, and second guitarist Shane Carroll. Not familiar with any of these guys, so I don't know where they found them at. And then you've got the producer, Terry Manning and Carl Marsh contributing synthesizers and programming. You've also got the London Studio Orchestra here a little bit. Very different sounding than the first two albums. This is very much an AOR melodic rock album, a little bit of pop. Most of the bluesiness and the metal from the first two albums are basically gone. But you know what? Still pretty good album. Not for what it is, not bad. The World Waits for You starts up. It's like a big, epic 7.5 minute long track. I like it. It's moody, it's catchy, it's got some gritty guitars, there's some synths, there's some strings, and just haunting melodic vocals from Dave King. Really good song. Somehow this works. Really works. Doesn't sound much like Fastway, other than the you recognize Dave's vocals, but it's good. Kill Me With Your Heart, total AOR and a little bit of glam metal, glam rock. Big bright synths, cheesy drum sounds. I barely hear any Eddie guitars on this, but it's still a very hooky song, and I'm surprised that they didn't promote this to that segment, right? That's the thing. That crowd would have loved something like this. Really catchy song. Tired of Your Love, total AOR melodic rock and pop. The funny thing is, I thought this album was horrible back in the day. You listen to it now, it's pretty good. Like I said, it doesn't really sound much like Fastway, but it's pretty good. Change though, moody, mushy pop. Can't get into that at all. Don't like that at all. They do a pretty good cover of Janis Joplin's Move Over, which, if you know the first two Fastway albums, I always said that he sounds like a female Janis Joplin. So his voice is tailor-made for this. It's pretty good. Eddie's riffing is working pretty well here. Too many synths though, which is really a problem throughout this album. I don't think doing Move Over needs to have all these walls of synths on it, right? Just gritty guitars and that voice, that would have done fine. Still, it's pretty well done. Little by Little, gritty rocker, kind of bluesy, nice riffing. Dave sounds great. Man, the gated drums are horrible. Absolutely horrible. Oof, no good. Rock On, that to me sounds like the spirit of the first two Fastway albums. Maybe a little more mid 80s hookiness. I would have liked to hear a little more of that on this album. And again, the drums sound terrible, but it's a catchy song. It's got like a gang chorus and everything like that. Would have made a nice video and single if they would have ever decided to do that. It's a cool song. Title track is really good. Got this kind of atmospheric opening, and then some big furious riffing comes in, anthemic chorus. Get rid of the synths and the cheesy drum sounds, and that is a Fastway classic. Really good. Girl, kind of fun melodic rock, not great, not terrible. Backdoor Man, that kind of rocks, goes back to the early sound, which I kind of dig. And then the Closer doing just fine, kind of similar, not as successful as Backdoor Man, but pretty good. More of like that traditional Fastway sound. Overall, the label wanted the band to crank out some hits on here. They wanted some sales, and unfortunately, it backfired because I think the hardcore Fastway crowd didn't want to hear this sort of thing, and they didn't really market it to the non-Fastway crowd. So what are you going to do? I like the album for what it is, though. It's not great. It's not terrible. But classic Fastway is not. And basically after this album, the band kind of imploded, right? And then we got other stuff, which we'll get to. All right, number 4. I'm going to go with the last thing they ever did, which is Dog Eat Dog from 2011. Seventh and final album, Steamhammer Records, released 21 years after that last one I talked about. 21 years. So here we got a totally revamped lineup. I don't even remember if they had a picture of the guys in the band. Of course, you got all the guitars there. So he's got his Les Paul and Strats and things. Let me just see. You got the great Toby Jepson on vocals. All right, so that name might be familiar to some of you. Really, really great singer. Here he is. And he does a fantastic job on this album. Really good job on this album. Joining them on bass, John McManus from Mama's Boys. And then on drums, we've got Steve Strange, but also Toby also supplies a little bit of bass and guitar on the album. So to me, this sounds like classic Fastway. It's almost like this album should have come out right after All Fired Up. It's got that feel to it. And Toby is a really good singer. They really, you know, because as I said, that guy Leah, didn't really like his voice at all. Dave King is the classic voice of this band, but I think Toby does a fantastic job because he doesn't sound like Dave, but he's just a really, really great singer, and he's really great at this kind of like bluesy, heavy rock swagger type of thing. Really good. Um, Deliver Me, solid, moody rocker to open out the album. Really good. Fade Out brings to mind those classic Eddie Clark meaty riffs. Toby singing great. Leave a Light On, grinding, bluesy heavy rock. Got a killer riff on Love and Fool. Dead and Gone is really cool. It blends like acoustic guitars at the beginning with then it turns into this hard driving, full-on electric hard rock song and one of the album's strong songs. Really, really good. Definitely don't miss Dead and Gone. Really good. Great riffing, great vocals, great song. Sick as a Dog, old school bluesy hard rocker. Could have been on either of the first two albums. Really good. Freedom Song, kind of groovy hard rock. It's not one of my favorites on here, but it's okay. Do You Believe is like a bumping, grinding kind of groovy rock song. I like that. That's good. Great guitar licks on it. Great drumming. Really good drumming on it. Love I Need is pretty heavy. It's got some kind of like AC/DC style riffs, really good vocals. And the closer On and On doesn't really do a lot for me. That's probably my least favorite song on the album. But overall, a strong album. And it's kind of sad that this was all we got from them because I think I would have loved to have heard a follow-up to this because I think they were really onto something here between this partnership between Eddie and Toby. And sadly, we lost Fast Eddie Clark in 2018, right? So that kind of puts the end to the Fastway story. But good album. Don't sleep on this one. Dog Eat Dog uh, Eat Dog Eat. Sorry, not Dog Eat Dog. Eat Dog Eat. I always say that the wrong way. Eat Dog Eat. Definitely cool album. All right, number three, we're going to go all the way back to 1986 for Trick or Treat. So this is the last appearance of Dave King on a Fastway album. This is their fourth album. It's basically the soundtrack to the film. So at this point in time, after the Waiting for the Roar album, basically the band breaks up, right? For all intents and purposes, they're kind of done. But then the producers of the movie were looking for kind of like a hard rock and metal soundtrack, right? So they got in touch with Fast Eddie, asked if he'd be interested in doing it. So he's like, all right, let me see if I can put the band back together, right? So he basically he convinces Dave King and everybody else from the previous album to come back on board to do the soundtrack to this, and they also decided to metal it up a little bit. So this album, well, it's definitely more rocking than Waiting for the Roar, but it takes like the formula of the first two albums and turns it into more of like a what was going on in metal at the time, like the LA kind of thing. It's not quite like sleaze metal or glam or glam metal or hair metal, but it's not that far removed. But it's definitely got a beefier, more metallic and distorted guitar presence than the first two albums. Um, to me, at this album, musically, it reminds me of like Rat, Quiet Riot, Twisted Sister, that sort of thing. It's coming from that school. Opening title track's pretty heavy. It's a fun anthem. Got some good guitar tones, right? Good riffs. After Midnight sounds like AC/DC. You got Don't Stop the Fight, which is kind of moody. You got the Stand Up, which is pretty heavy. I like that. Might be my favorite song here. Really nice vocal from Dave. Cool riffing on that. Like that. Tear Down the Walls. It's kind of like generic heavy metal boogie. It's really short too. It's like 2 minutes long. Yeah, kind of throwaway. Get Tough, Dark and Menacing. I like that one a lot. Hold On to the Night. To me, kind of sounds like Radar Love. The more I listen to it, I'm like, it's a very similar groove. Everything that's very similar to Radar Love from, of course, Golden Earring. And then that's all you get as far as new tracks. And then basically what they did was they took Heft from the first album and If You Could See from the second album and put them on here. Not even re-record them, just lifted them straight from the albums and put them on here. So to me, it's kind of light on new content. You get 7 songs, right? I mean, Heft and If You Could See are great songs, but otherwise, I like what's on here. I do like this album. It's just a shame they didn't record more new stuff. Right after they did this, Dave split and just said, I want nothing more to do with heavy metal and all this kind of stuff. Of course, he went off and did solo album, Kathmandu, and Irish style stuff, and that's kind of what he's done for all these years. And the band is basically broken up at this point. So yeah, that's my number three, Trick or Treat. So the number one and two, obviously, this is the cream of the crop right here. So, and it's funny, a couple of months ago, it said there's a huge gulf between the first two albums. There really isn't. I think All Fired Up, which is my number two, I think is very close to the first album. It's very close. I never used to think so back in the day because I remember when I bought this when it first came out, I was kind of disappointed in this because it wasn't quite the classic that the first album was, but I liked it. And I had it on vinyl. I never bought it on CD. So I didn't have All Fired Up for many, many years, like God, almost 30 years or right about 30 years. And then I bought the Rock Candy reissue not that long ago. And I was like, wow, this album is way better than I remember it being. It's actually really good. It holds up really well. So again, same lineup as the debut, except here we have a full-time bass player now. We've got Charlie McCracken, formerly of the band Taste with Rory Gallagher on bass. So he's joining Jerry Shirley, Eddie, and Dave for the new revamped version of Fastway and a good one. And we still have Eddie Kramer is again producing on this one. He produced the debut, Columbia Records. Um, Songs are a tad more bluesy than the debut, maybe not as metallic, but the album, like I said, these songs have held up quite well. Opening title track, Rocks Hard, very memorable. Misunderstood, simple, crushing riff, love it. Steal the Show, catchy, heavy blues rocker. Terrific Dave King vocals. Terrific. Station is great. Station to me has one of those kind of weaving, winding, circular, like Jimmy Page riffs, which I love so much. It's got a very strong Led Zeppelin feel to it, and then it's got this great breakdown in the middle, man. Just everything kind of changes. Down, 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 down. Oh, it's just so good. And Dave is just singing up a storm. Love it. Could be my favorite song on here. Could be my favorite song in here. That Station. Really, really good. Nonstop Love, another groovy, heavy rock tune. Great riffing. Again, this middle section with Shirley's crushing drumming. Dave King's just like snarling vocal delivery, and then Eddie goes right into this wah-wah guitar solo. Just so good. Another one of my favorite tracks on here. Hurtin' Me, slow blues, outstanding vocals, epic guitar solo from Eddie. Tell Me was the one video song from the album. They made a video of this, and you probably remember this. It was the single too. Tell me, banana on the mound, banana on the mound. It's got this fluttering guitar lick from Eddie. It's a real catchy track. I like it. It's one of the more lighthearted songs on here, but I like it a lot. Hung Up on Love, kind of generic. Not crazy about that one. The Stranger to me is the closest thing they come to like a mid 80s power ballad with this lineup, and totally sounds like something that could have fit in on a Motley Crue album from around the same time, or a Poison album, or a Bon Jovi album. Very indicative of what this band was doing, but again, trying to fit into what was going on. It's actually, I'm surprised they didn't push it or as a single, because it could have done well. I think make a video of it, push it as a single. It's very catchy. It's not really kind of what I want to hear from Fastway, but it's really good. Telephone, grinding, bluesy boogie, decent enough, not great. But then one of my favorite tracks on the album finishes and kind of really, and I think one of the things, if I remember correctly, it's a long time ago when I bought this on vinyl back in the day, back in 1984. I remember being a little disenchanted with side two, listening to side one a lot and not side two. And it's a shame because If You Could See is one of my favorite songs on here. It's the final track. It totally saves side two. And it's an amazing vocal from Dave, real passionate vocal. And it's kind of like this haunting, bluesy, heavy rock song that just great chorus. And absolutely love his voice on it. Just so good. And the riffs are good. It's just great solo. Great, great song. Really good song. One of my favorite Fastway songs. But it's buried all the way on side two here. So, save for a couple of tracks, I think this matches up to the debut quite nicely. The reason why the debut is number one for me is because of this consistency. Like I said, there are like maybe two hiccups on here of songs I don't really care all that much about. The rest is great. Also, they did open up for Rush on the Grace Under Pressure tour, which took them all over the place. And from what I've read, they were completely burned out after that tour. So, and again, kind of like a little implosion happened. Basically, Jerry and Charlie were like, all right, we got to bow out. We're getting too old for this sort of thing, right? So, of course, my number one is the debut from 1983, produced by Eddie Kramer for Columbia Records. Again, Eddie Clark, Jerry Shirley, Dave King. Mick Feet, no idea who he is, played uncredited bass on the album. They listed no bass player on here. I remember thinking when I first bought this, I was kind of like, well, why there's no bass player listed on here? Originally, what we thought back in the day is that Pete Way actually played the bass on the album, but because of the contractual nonsense, he couldn't be listed on there or whatever. But they recorded the album with him, and then he couldn't appear and left. Apparently, that was never the case, right? That's what we thought back in the day. But this guy named Mick Feet, he's the guy who played the bass. It's like, whatever. So, a lot of great stuff on here. Easy Living, hard charging, heavy boogie, great song. Feel Me, Touch Me, killer opening guitar lick, fantastic bluesy heavy rock song, totally memorable chorus. All I Need Is Your Love, rocks hard, great riffing. Love Jerry Shirley's drumming on here. He's such an underrated drummer, so good. Um, then you got Another Day, which has this opening kind of like acoustic guitar thing. We're alone again, you say. Nice crooning vocal from Dave. You want your freedom. So good. And then all of a sudden, that amazing riff comes in from Eddie. And Another Day is so good. Snarling vocal from Dave. Pile driving riff. Excellent song. It was always one of my favorites on here. And then a great guitar solo from Eddie. Really good. Then you got Heft, which is this slow, bluesy, doomy, dirgy track. Love it. Love it. Dave's doing kind of like this Robert Plant meets Janis Joplin thing. Excellent. Then you got We Become One, which is my favorite Fastway song. So good. Again, the riff is almost kind of doomy. It's so much fun to play. The song is like kind of like doomy and stompy, just excellent. And I love the last half of it when it kicks into high gear, and it goes into that riff at the end. Oh, absolutely amazing. Absolutely amazing. Kick-ass song. Love it. Give It All You Got. It's got these great acrobatic drums from Shirley kicking it off. It's just a really good, fun, bluesy hard rock song. Really like that a lot. Say What You Will is the hit here. Most people cite that as their favorite song on the album. I love it. It's not my favorite, but it's just got this, boom, it's amazing how many great licks, memorable licks and riffs are on this album. It's filled with them. Say What You Will is so much fun. Classic opening guitar lick. Just absolutely love it. You Got Me Running is great. It's got that shuffling, metallic, bluesy, heavy boogie thing going on. And then you got Give It Some Action, which is this furious kind of riff monster of a tune. Really, really good. The drums are pounding. The vocals are great. Just so good. And then there's a track called Far, Far From Home, which was on the original vinyl pressing, not on the latter pressings, not included on the cassette either. But then when they released it on CD, they threw it back on. Far From Home is kind of like it's this slow, Zeppelin-y, kind of heavy bluesy, Janis Joplin-y number. It's really good. It's got some great guitar solos. Dave sounds incredible. Um, yeah, overall, a classic album. If you get the Rock Candy reissue, you also get extra tracks like Crazy Dream and Back in the Game. And then, of course, they throw Far, Far From Home back on here. Crazy Dream is really good. Back in the Game is also really good. So there were just stuff left off the album. Really good. This made it to number 31 on the Billboard charts. This was their highest charting and biggest selling album. I don't think it quite made it to gold, but sold a couple 100,000 copies. And the band opened up for Iron Maiden on the Peace of Mind tour with this album, which I actually saw, which was very, very cool. Saw them in Poughkeepsie at the Mid-Hudson Civic Center. So yeah, very cool album, an all-time great album, a classic album, classic cover, and a band that should have been bigger, I think. Should have been bigger. And maybe they just came out the wrong time. A band like this in the 70s would have done amazing, I think. So, but what are you gonna do? So yeah, Fastway is my number one. All Fired Up number two. Trick or Treat number three. Eat Dog Eat number four. Waiting for the Roar number five. And then those other two crappy albums at number 6 and 7, you can avoid those. I would say all these other ones are worth a listen and certainly purchase. Those last two albums just don't really do anything for me. So that's my ranking here for Fastway. Let us know what you think of these albums, how you would rank them. And for those of you who haven't heard a lot of the latter stuff, I would say if you're at all curious, just go give a listen to those two records from the 90s or from 88 and from 1990, just because they're, for the most part, they're pretty bad. And you could just see how much the band kind of shifted away from they originally did. But I would say, don't sleep on Waiting for the Roar. Even though it's kind of not really Fastway sounding, it's still pretty good for what it is. But definitely, definitely don't miss out on Eat Dog Eat from 2011. Really, really good. That's more like vintage style Fastway. So that's my ranking. Comments down below, and we'll see you next week here for another ranking episode. We are going to rank the, what is it? I don't know, 5 albums from the great US traditional metal, power metal, heavy metal band Obsession, featuring Mike Viscera on lead vocals, the much traveled Mike Viscera, right? So very cool band, cool albums. Stay tuned. Join Rich Catino, John Gaffney, and Joe DiBiase for that next weekend, next Sunday, a week from today. Till then, visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all the damn time. Lots of ranking shows coming up, folks. We've got Rank the Albums of Tease. I believe I'm going to be joined by both Martin Popoff and Guitar Hack for that. That's coming up in a few weeks. Rich Catino and I believe Stephen Reed and myself will be ranking the albums of Heat. That's coming up. I'm going to be doing some sort of a WASP ranking in the not too distant future. We got Agent Steel is coming up. We've got Hellstar coming up. We've got Vicious Rumors coming up. We've got Virgin Steel coming up. We've got Sog coming up. I've got Autopsy and Incantation, the Helicopters. I know there's more. What else am I missing here? I mean, that's a lot right there. So yeah, and others. There's other things that I'm working on as well. So more to come on the ranking shows. Lots to do. Oh, what's the one that Grant and I are doing? Jeez, I'm drawing a complete blank. Grant and I are doing a Trillion ranking. That's coming up very, very soon. So that'll be over the next, I think. I think that actually might be the episode after the Obsession one. So that might be, so Trillion, that's coming, 3 albums there. So yeah, so lots to do. It's all coming. Stay tuned for more MP Pardo. Visit us on the web at www.seatranquility.org. We're on Facebook, YouTube, and Instagram all the damn time. I think I said that already, so I won't say any more. I'll leave you now. Enjoy the rest of your weekend. For those of you here in the States, enjoy your the rest of your Labor Day weekend, and we will see you soon here with more stuff. I'm Pete Pardo. Thanks for watching. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.